Hi, I'm Alice, and in today's video, if you've read the title, I'm going to be going through my houseplant setup. So it's going to include things like grow lights, my humidifier, heat mats, pots, trays, all the little things that I use to help me grow plants. So just before we get started, this is what works for me in my environment, and it might not work for you. I don't even know if they're things that I need, but they're just things that I have and things that I use to help me grow plants. Some of the things that I do are also sort of experiments, and although they may seem to be working at the moment, that might not always be the case. And so yeah, do experiment. I encourage you to do weird shit with your plants that maybe other people aren't doing, but also recognize that that might not work out. Just for clarity, I live in Adelaide, South Australia, where we have a Mediterranean climate, which means it's temperate. We don't get any snow. It rarely gets below 0 degrees Celsius, but in the summer we can get up to almost to 50 degrees some days. We definitely have heat waves, so temperatures above or around 45 degrees for about a week or so during the summer. And I don't have an air conditioner or air conditioning vent in my room at all. And most of these plants have made it through that just using what I have. So we are currently in winter, so I'm probably not going to use heat mats during the summer. Yeah, just for a bit of context, you know, if you have different weather conditions, you probably won't need the same setup that I do. Okay, so we're going to start with the basics. Pots. The basic of basics. What does the plant actually grow in? So I use primarily terracotta. You can see they get a little moldy. I don't know if that's mold or if that's salt deposits, but yeah, I don't really give a shit about that happening. But they are really good for things like aroids and things that really need to dry out between waterings. And yeah, you can see below that is a yogurt container. This is an ice cream lid. But I do also use, so I needed something small for this Hoya linearis, so I bought something which is not terracotta, but mostly I try to find containers. Where's an example? Oh, right there. I try to find containers in our recycling bin. So for these succulents, you know, they're right in the window, so in the middle of summer they can dry out really quickly, like too quickly. If I had them in terracotta, I did briefly have them in tiny terracottas, some of them, not all of them, in tiny terracottas like that, but they just dry out way too fast. So they weren't doing well, you know, they weren't really growing because the water would just leave before they could take any of it up. So now I use things like plastic and tins, because it just holds a little bit more moisture. During the winter they probably don't need to be in these, but the summers are pretty intense, so they are. Yeah, and then things like you can pull anything out of your recycling bin and use it as a drip tray. You really don't need to be buying drip trays at all. Yeah, and then I also have some hangers, which these are just old rusty hooks. This is my old curtain rail, which I bought a roll of line and put that up so that I could use the rail for plants. And then these are old hooks. And this is just a little wire frame. It's just galvanized wire, not iron, that I used to use for jewelry making, but I don't actually ever do that. So I've just made little hangers. It's really simple. It's just, you know, 2 pieces of wire twisted together at the bottom. You come up and twist it at the top, or you don't even have to do that. Some of the other ones that I've done, this one, it's not even twisted at the top. And that's kind of good because you can then take the pots out more easily and replace them. Yeah, that's just a little something that's easy to do. You don't need to go buying. I mean, if you've got money, I don't have money. I made that piece of shit macrame out of some old wool. Like, you don't need to be buying shit for your plants unless you feel like wasting money. But I, you know, generally don't feel like wasting money, except on plants. So like, the way I see it, like, you could buy a $20 pot to go with your $20 plant, or you could just buy 2 $20 plants. And I know what I would do. What's next? The other thing with pots. So I think we've probably all killed a fern. And so I've been growing plants indoors for about like 3 years now. And I feel like the first thing that I killed was a fern. And I just got afraid of them and I never went back to them until, what's it been, like a few months now? I've had these guys. So there's this dude, this dude, this dude, this dude, and the rabbit's foot fern in the back corner. But that is not focusing. There we go. And they are actually in. Okay. So this is an old coffee jar. Yes, I drink instant coffee because I'm disgusting. This is a little party cup. We've got a wick, which I made from an old cloth. This method is based on Miss Orchid Girl's self-watering method, which, I mean, I'll link a video of hers somewhere. But essentially you just fill up the bottom, the fabric wicks it up into there, and there's a layer of sphagnum at the bottom, which then pulls up to the roots, and the roots are pulling out as focus. It's really, I mean, it's just lightly moist, it's not wet or anything, because you don't want to soak the media when you're first doing this. You just want to let it pull by. Why is that not focused? I'm gonna kill it. Sorry. Yeah, so that is a really great technique for keeping ferns alive as well as your orchids. Yeah, and I've had lots of new growth on them. Like, is that new? I don't know. There's a bit in there that's come through, and there's some under there. Yeah, ferns often grow in things like seeps or right next to waterways. They do like to be kept quite moist for the most part. Things like the rabbit's foot fern are actually epiphytic, so they don't need as much water. But yeah, it's just a really great little technique, and I'll link Miss Orchid Girl down below. She's kind of a genius. Speaking of that, I've also got my orchid seedlings in a similar method, but just with the one reservoir rather than individual ones. We've got, the cords coming through to the top of each one. One thing that you do need to keep in mind is that, what is that fucking word? The fucking summer rain oaks use all the time? Capillary action. In order for capillary action to actually work, these containers should all be above the water line in this jar, because the water will wick up and then gravity will pull it back down to the level down here. So I don't really use this as much. I mean, it's not a true sort of self-watering setup, but it sort of is, but I think of it more as just a way of not getting water into the crevices, which can cause orchids to rot. But I just think of it as like it's really not self-watering, it's just sort of safe watering. Yeah, and then I also did things like I put for fuck's sake, no, don't focus on outside, it's disgusting. Ugh. I put this shelf, it's just an old plank, a slat from my old bed, and then it's literally just like 2 screws down under there, holding it so that there's a bit more space in the window for plants. And I also made this shelf out of bits of pallet and an old bit of shelf. It's so dodgy. I'm kind of afraid that one day it's gonna fall down. It kind of did once, but I just threw another screw in, and it's been up for, oops, that's my finger, a few months, so hopefully it doesn't fall. Oh, and if you notice in any of this footage that my hands look kind of disgusting, it's because I super glued dirt to my hand while I was making the backdrop for this little terrarium. I'm not going to go through the setup or anything for that because it's really new. I only did it a few days ago, and yeah, it hasn't like settled or anything. I don't know what's going to happen, whether everything is going to fucking die or what. So yeah, won't be going through that. I have 2 of these little humidity meters, and they've also got the temperature up in the corner. And one there and one over there. And that, I don't even know if they're particularly accurate. I have a feeling that they might not be, because I mean, they might be. It could be 91 in here. I mean, I do have mold on the wall, so probably 91 is too high. Just saying, if you want to not have lung problems, don't do what I do. But the plants are happy, and that's all they really care about. So this is my humidifier. It is very basic, but it works, and it was cheap, and it's like 6 liters or something, 6 or 9, I think it's 6, maybe 7. It is a little loud, but it didn't used to be, so I think that's my fault.
because I don't use any sort of special water. I have a tiny little filter, which I guess I'll show you, on my tap, but it's so basic I don't actually think that it does anything. It just gives me a little bit of peace of mind. But yeah, this guy does get a bit of salt built up, which you just don't. That's not a good idea. And it's obviously been damaged by that. And now it makes a really loud noise. But it was, not too expensive. That's the thing, I bought the cheapest, biggest one because I didn't want to have to keep refilling it. But I don't imagine that I would have treated a more expensive humidifier any better. So yeah, I mean, I'm happy with it. It works. It gets me up to 99 sometimes. Yeah, it has it, on, off, and it has, you turn it for the amount. It's a cute dude, but I never use it on its own generally. Sometimes I'll put it on full to start with, and then I'll I have a little fan, which is on. It has a little spinner, so, you've got the fan and the direction to sort of move the humidity around, and it's also actually really good for things like keeping pests and disease off your plants. Yeah, the floor is disgusting. I just sort of treat my room like a greenhouse, but it's not, because I live in here, but whatever. Yeah, that's my fan, that's my humidifier. Yes, the next thing is a heat mat. You can see here, this black thing runs across that whole top shelf. I just got it as it started to cool down in autumn, because I was a bit scared that it was going to get too cold in here. But then I also got a heater after that, and so I kind of feel it's a little bit redundant. I also wanted to get it so I could do some seeds, but they sort of get too dry with it on. It is just a reptile mat, which you can pick up on eBay. I guess I'll link this one below, but again, I don't know how necessary they are. Yeah, I've had better success with seeds not on the heat mat, because on the heat mat I'd have to water them every day, but then that might be too much, and it's just, I've sort of given up on the seeds that I have here. But yeah, the heater, I got because I was also worried about the cold happening. So I say it's for me, but it's really not. I often accidentally, that's another thing, I've got these little timers, just your basic analog plug-in timer, and that's connected to this power board down here, which everything, I think it's on for 13 or 14 hours. So I'll often accidentally plug this guy in at night into that power board, and then it goes off at night, and then when I wake up in the morning, my room is nice and warm because this turns on again in the morning, which is fine. It's quite nice. Yeah, and it keeps things, I try to turn it on if it gets to about 16 in here, which I can tell on those little doodads, because I'm here all the time at the fucking moment, because my uni, I don't think we're going back until next semester in person, so I am here all of the time to tend for all of the plants. Yeah, it's great. But But yeah, I sort of watch the little monitors and wait for it to get to 16 degrees, and then I turn them on. I sort of turn them off around 18 if I remember, or just let them go until, you know, it gets too warm, which isn't great. That's about it on heating at the moment, and obviously I'm not going to use any of this stuff during the summer. And during the summer, I just sort of let the heat go. I don't cool anything down. Nothing really needs it. It doesn't get to 40 in here. It maybe gets quite warm, but the humidifier sort of keeps things very thick during the summer. Okay, so grow lights. This is one of my lights, and then I've got another one of those just under there, and the alfoil is just to try and stop any moisture from the shelf above getting onto it. I don't know if it's very effective. I haven't really bothered to look, but I hope it is. And then I've also got, so those are LEDs, and this is a fluorescent. You can sort of see it through there. It's one of those long sort of tubey guys. I'm not going to go into grow lights too much. One, because it's like quite technical and I'd have to do some like rereading of info, but I'm going to link you to videos by Miss Orchid Girl again and Betsy Begonia, because they sort of really go in depth into the requirements. But these LED panels, they're just a flat panel. They are so light, like it's ridiculous how light they are. And what are they? They're from Shutang Electrical Supplies on eBay, and I'll link these below. They're 30 centimeters by 60 centimeters. They've got 5,500 kelvins, and they're 90 lumens per watt, and they're 24 watts, so that's 2,160 lumens. And lumens are like the amount of light, essentially, and kelvins are the color or the frequency that the light is being produced at. And I've had these panels for less than a year, but like long enough to get some, like that leaf right there in the middle is new, some new growth down there. I've definitely had heaps of growth under them, and although they're not an actual grow light, I should mention that, they provide what the light that plants needs. They're not like a branded glow light, not grow light. But essentially just, there's more info in those videos that I'll link down below. But for your house plants, generally 4,100 to 6,500 kelvins is the sort of temperature or color of light that you're looking for, and 2,000 to 3,000 lumens is enough light, which these guys obviously fit into those categories, and they're actually only $27.50, and they still are, I think, on eBay at that price, which is crazy when you think that I bought this guy afterwards. I've only had him like not as long, and I definitely haven't noticed any amazing growth compared to my other lights. But yeah, this is like an actual branded grow light. Why can't I say that today? And it is at 2,700 kelvins, which is kind of low. Like the color essentially is wrong, which I only realized today when I was looking at this stuff. But I've always thought it's a bit too yellow, and I didn't I just assumed that it was right because it was branded as a glow light. Grow light, fuck me. Yeah, apparently it's actually the wrong color. But it was like $50, which is twice the price that I paid for these panels, and it's wrong. So that is annoying, but I haven't, I don't think I've noticed growth is necessarily slower or anything with this light, because I have definitely moved some of the plants that were under these up under here. So yeah, they do seem to still be working, and they're 2000 lumens, which like is just on the cusp of enough light. I definitely think that I've got it too far away, because that's another thing that matters, is how close the light is to plants, and so mostly that's on me, but also I'm fairly sure the colour is fucked, and I'll probably get rid of this light, to be honest, because I had this guy over here at the same height and I had good growth, and it also, it's fine. And if I was getting incredible growth from it, I would be happy, but I'm just getting the same amount of growth that I was getting from my cheapy lights. I actually like the colour of them. Not that I have any problems with, you know, the golden hour of lighting, but it's just not as pretty. Like, I don't think the man should have attempted to remake the golden hour. Just stick with scary white light. Okay, I just want to go just a couple more things which may not even interest you, but I've got a few little, oh that's my finger, orchids such as this guy, and this guy, and they are growing, and I won't lift that one up because he's a bit weird, but they're in sort of a kokedama style. Which I've found quite easy to look after, you know, you just sort of keep it a little bit moist, they've got plenty of air. So yeah, I was sort of afraid, not afraid, but you know, a bit nervous about, you know, trying new things. But that has actually worked out fine. It's quite recent, so haven't noticed any new growth, haven't noticed any bad growth, but they seem fine, and I really like the way they look, but I was afraid of sort of maintaining it, and it's quite easy. Then I've got 3 little boards, what do you call them? Mounts is what you call them, and that's mostly so that I can cover up the ugly light, but they sort of, you know, peek out at the sides, so they are getting a bit of light still. This is, what is it, Dischidia Major, and that one actually came mounted without any moss, so all the roots are attached to the board, but it's really not easy to keep moist, that one. I didn't want to suffocate and then like cut off the roots with the fishing line or anything. It's just got a little bit of moss sprinkled there, and I spray that one every day. These 2 are mounts that I did myself, so they've got a lot more moss on them. So, is it moist? It's sort of moist. I spray them just to sort of wet the moss, and then I use, where is it? The giant Coke bottle dropper, squeezy bottle dude, and I just sort of poke that down in the back and wet it that way, and I do get a bit of dripping, But you know, there's plants below to take care of that. I do quite a lot of my watering with that. It's good for getting in under the shelves and that sort of thing, especially with the small pots, because you don't want to water them too much anyway. And a watering can, my watering can just throws water out. It's very difficult to control how much water you're giving out. And then I'll just quickly show you the back room. We've got a few more plants. I don't think there's much difference in terms of the setup, but I'll just show you. And I'll just quickly show you the shed where I do potting. This is my mum's plant. Can you tell? My little moss garden with my seedlings and things. This I use, and I do at the moment use rainwater mostly for watering. I especially use it for the orchids, the begonias, and the ferns because they're a little bit tender. And then I'll just use tap water for pretty much everything else. But this is one of the, you know, the pumping spray bottles. So you get up a bit of pressure and then you just spray, and that's how I do that. And I fill this up with rainwater as well. Again, hangers. This one is with string instead of wire. That's like the first pot I ever bought. Like, just a waste of time. Yeah, another hanger, and again this is a rail for plants, but I don't really have too many out here at the moment because it's cold and it gets freezing in here because it's like just essentially a shed. This is more of my house plants, and I've got all of these food plants that I grow as well. For them I just use plastic pots because we have tons from all of the plants we've killed, and I just reuse them with, again, recycled trays because it doesn't need to be pretty in here as far as I am concerned. If you've made it this far, you're a real slut. A real plant slut. Sorry there wasn't any audio in that last little section. My neighbor's back door is right near the shed where I do my stuff, and they always seem to be there. And I didn't want to seem like a weirdo, but thank you for watching. I'm gonna do fertilizers and pesticides in a different video. It'll probably be a much shorter video. But yeah, thanks so much for watching. I really appreciate it. If there's anything that you've sort of seen in my setup and I haven't mentioned it,
please leave a comment below and I'll try to explain what it is, or make another, include it in the next video as a little clip. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it.